All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into something that's probably got a lot of you folks worried.
Yeah.
This whole U.S. funding freeze thing
Right.
and what it means if you're, trying to get a GSA contract.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of uncertainty right now.
Yeah, no kidding, especially when you consider that GSA contracts aren't even, directly funded.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole situation so tricky.
Right, it's like, wait a minute, if my contract's not funded in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
how can the freeze even affect me?
Right.
Well, we found this article that kind of breaks it all down.
Oh, cool.
It's called, How Does the SS Funding Freeze Affect Those Getting a New GSA Contract? Understand that a GSA contract is unfunded.
Okay. So it's getting right to the point.
Yeah, and the main takeaway is that just because there's no, specific pile of money set aside for your contract
Right.
doesn't mean you're totally immune to,
Yeah. To the fallout.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you might have this pre-approval to be a vendor, but the agencies that actually buy stuff through those GSA contracts,
Uh-huh.
they're the ones getting hit by the freeze.
Ah, I see. So it's kind of like a trickle-down effect.
Exactly.
The article mentions that there might be fewer GSA contracts awarded because of this whole thing.
Right.
So I guess that's directly tied to agencies having less money to spend.
Yeah, think of it this way. Imagine an agency usually buys like 100 new laptops every year
Okay.
through a GSA contract.
Uh-huh.
But then the freeze happens, their budget gets slashed.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can only afford like 50 laptops.
Right.
That means less business for the company with the GSA contract, even if they got awarded the contract.
Wow. That's a pretty clear example of how this plays out in the real world.
Yeah.
The article also kept mentioning these task orders,
Oh, yeah.
which seem to be right at the heart of,
Like how this whole thing works.
Yeah. What exactly are those?
Okay, so basically a task order is like a specific purchase order that an agency makes using their GSA contract. It's like their official shopping list,
Right.
So using our laptop example, the task order would be for those 50 laptops they can now afford.
Okay.
And it would include any specific requirements they need.
I got it.
So fewer task orders overall means less business for everyone with GSA contracts in that area.
So it's not just about getting the contract itself anymore. It's
No.
about whether agencies will actually be able to use it.
Exactly.
Man, this must be a total headache for anyone trying to get a GSA contract right now.
Absolutely. And the article talks about how competition is getting even fiercer now.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Because with fewer opportunities overall, more companies are fighting for a smaller piece of the pie.
Right. If there are fewer contracts and fewer task orders being issued, then everyone's going to be scrambling to get what they can.
Mm-hmm.
There's also this whole issue of planning challenges
Yeah.
that the article talks about.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Before the freeze, you could probably predict, how much demand there would be for your services based on what the government had spent in the past.
Right. You had some historical data to work with.
And now it's like everything's up in the air.
Totally. It's like trying to plan a road trip without a map.
So, okay, let's get down to brass tacks here.
Okay.
For someone who's actually trying to get a GSA contract right now, is it even worth it?
Well, it's definitely a tougher landscape, that's for sure.
Right.
But it's not necessarily a dead end. The key is understanding how agencies' priorities are changing.
Okay.
The article points out that with less money to throw around, they're going to focus on essential services.
That makes sense.
So if what you're offering through your GSA contract aligns with those priorities,
Uh-huh.
you might actually be in good spot.
So it's all about being adaptable and strategic.
Exactly.
Really knowing what the government needs right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you wouldn't try to sell winter coats in the middle of summer.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure out what's in high demand.
And that's where staying informed is absolutely critical.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, you got to keep an eye on any policy changes,
Uh-huh.
analyze how agencies are spending their money,
Okay.
and be ready to adjust your approach as needed.
So basically just be ready for anything.
Pretty much.
All right, so to wrap things up, this funding freeze is definitely causing a lot of uncertainty, even for GSA contracts, which aren't funded in the traditional sense.
Right.
The real impact is happening at the agency level
Mm-hmm.
because it's affecting their ability to actually use those contracts and issue task orders.
Exactly.
So for anyone trying to get a GSA contract right now,
Yeah,
staying agile and staying informed is absolutely essential.
couldn't agree more. And you know what? All this just highlights how important it is to have a solid strategy in place.
Okay.
You need to be able to quickly adapt to these kinds of changes in the government contracting world.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Let's-
sense.
Don't let the challenges discourage you, though.
Mm.
This could actually be a chance to really fine-tune your approach. Focus on delivering real value where it's needed most.
Okay.
And by understanding the landscape, and, rolling with the punches,
Yeah.
you can still find success even in this crazy world of government contracting.
Great advice. Thanks for breaking all that down.
Anytime.
And to all our listeners out there, stay tuned for our next deep dive where we'll be tackling another timely and important topic.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, stay informed and stay ahead of the game.